So yeah, man. I'm just gonna pull up some. I know we were gonna talk about the haunted, but I actually didn't get around to listening to the album because I was too busy learning, not really learning, but trying to play the Winger song, Winger 17. But
Where were you learning that?
yeah, I've got the pretty much the song down. It's just the solo, and I know the solo. I just can't play it up to speed and accurately as I want to. I'll never be able to do it 100%, but I want to get it to the point where it's like doesn't sound too awful. But right now it just doesn't. It's falling short of the mark, you know. So I need to be able to play it at least 30% accuracy before I'd actually put it on YouTube. It doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be, you know.
And there you have it, ladies and
Listenable.
gentlemen. We have Marc. She was only 17, but her parents knew she was there. Hanson.
Yeah.
And of course, JR, I didn't mean anything by it. Tarina, your host of Mentally.
JR, now just hear me out on Burzum.
No.
Marc is just misunderstood.
No, I don't say that. I've never said that.
I know.
One of these days, we got to talk about that. That really is an issue, but you can't even say that word. And the funny thing about that is that word, Burzum, is actually from Tolkien. It's not like, it's not Latin for I hate Jews or anything like that. It just means darkness, like Elvish or something like that, or I don't know. But
yeah, or it just means you're a dang nerd.
Not really. I've never even read Lord of the Rings. Don't care for fantasy very much.
I wasn't saying you were a nerd. Bullshit, dude. You love fantasy.
No, I don't. Science fiction, not fantasy.
Oh yeah, big
Sci-fi.
difference.
If you want it science fiction, like Star Trek, like Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, those have all pretty hardly predicted all the shit that we're going through right now. Like with transgender issues, like equality issues, like aliens, like politics, all of it. So yeah. Well, anyway, it's.
Wish they could figure out space travel.
Oh, they can.
You think? You think we already know? You think we've already reverse engineered some alien technology?
I think on this because you're a total conspiracy theory kind of guy, and.
Man, I think we went to the moon.
No, we went to the moon. I do know people who like fervently believe that we did not.
We went to the moon so we could fake the moon landing. It was the best place we could go.
I know a guy who believes that, and like I'm like, dude, I used to live in Houston. I've been to Johnson Space Center where the shuttles return from. They launch from Florida, they come back, and sometimes launch from Houston, but sometimes they'll go back to Houston's where they'd usually end up. So I've been there. I've seen all of the apparatus in museums there at NASA, Johnson Space Center. I've been there a bunch of times. It looks pretty real to me. There's footage. There's pieces of moon. There's all that stuff. There's recordings. He's like, well, where did the moon buggy come from? I don't see that in that little space capsule. I'm like, well, they assembled it when they got there. It was like this giant car that like dropped down like a Batmobile, you know? I mean,
I didn't know they had to assemble it on the moon. I thought it was like attached to like a separate like maybe lander or something, like, you know.
Well, something like that. I don't know, but I mean, I don't remember. I didn't like research it, but why would they do that? But what I was getting at is there was a book called Dark Mission that I read, and of course, as you know, I used to watch Ancient Aliens quite a bit. I think some of that, they have some good theories in there. I mean, I think a lot of people get sidetracked by Giorgio Tsoukalos's hair, the guy with the crazy stand-up hair that always puts his hands up in the air. But all that aside, like the pyramids and all that, there was a book called Dark Mission that was by Richard Hoagland, who used to work at NASA, and he was a scientist, not just some guy who believes in aliens. He is a literal rocket scientist that worked at NASA and JPL, Jet Propulsion Laboratories, which is a branch of NASA.
Yeah, yeah.
And he wrote this book called Dark Mission in cahoots with this other guy who is, I think, one of the guys who is on Ancient Aliens.
Uh-huh.
And there's a lot of stuff in there. Some of it you might be like, I don't know. Like they're saying that Mars actually has a blue sky and there is oxygen, but NASA just wants to hide it because there's this conspiracy of people that are living there and the rich are going to go there, all this shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
But if you think about it, it could be true because who runs the world right now? Rich assholes. Who just went up into space? A rich asshole. So,
Yeah,
there's
don't
a
want to
lot of
send
other
a
stuff. What's that?
you don't want to send a total bum up into space. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. They'd be, you know,
Well, it should be like
borrowing,
going up and not
asking him,
coming
hey
down.
man, you got to smoke?
Huh?
That's, he'd be like trying to bum smokes off aliens and stuff.
Well, they're not going to send a homeless guy into space, but why not a scientist, or paleontologist or something? Why some dickhead who owns a mail order service on the internet? It's like, what's he gonna like? Oh, this is mine. I own this now. Fuck you.
Yeah.
Oh,
Here's the thing.
what's the thing?
One, we need more love. My whole thing is like, as long as there's research and space missions going on, I don't really necessarily care who's funding it or why. Like if you hate Elon Musk, but if he gets us to Mars in the next few years, awesome, dude.
I don't think he's going to do that. I think it was just he was racing with Jeff Bezos to see who could get there first and who did the craziest thing. So Jeff Bezos,
Well,
of
are
course,
they still
Captain
racing?
Kirk with him from Star Trek, and the other guy, Musk, puts one of his own cars up there, which aren't his own cars, of course, as everybody now knows. He just hijacked that and then put like a mannequin in there listening to David Bowie, Major Tom, or whatever that song was.
Should have been listening to David Lee Roth. Much better.
Now that's the kind of comment I expected Mark Whitesnake Hansen to make. Mark Porno Graffiti Hansen.
I said David Lee Roth, not David Coverdale.
David Lee Roth, man. Yankee Rose, bro.
No. Big Trouble. I got deep cuts on that album.
Yeah, they should be listening to like despondent space music with no musical value whatsoever, just like vibrations.
Oh, that's no fun.
But that's what space is all about.
Yeah.
No sound carries in space. So anyways, interesting book. If you can find it, you should read it. It's not a conspiracy theory book so much. It's not really radical. There are a few things in there that are maybe far-fetched, but there's a lot of other stuff in there that's like, for example, did you know that you probably knew that NASA was formed using most of the Nazi scientists left over from World War II.
Yep.
Okay, that's in there. And then it's also a lot of the astronauts and people who worked at NASA were Masons or otherwise occultish people.
Mm-hmm.
That is why certain days of the year were used for moon landings, certain degrees and like measurements were used of where they were going and like landing spots. Like it was all like 90-degree angles and stuff like that. If you look at the flags and like emblems on a lot of the suits and the machinery, you'll see Masonic symbols and otherwise occult-like symbols, which is all over American money and stuff too. And people just kind of don't really pay it any mind because they've seen it all their lives. But like the pyramid with the eye, all of that stuff. None of that stuff is like English. It's not because the forefathers came here and let's put a pyramid with an eye on it because that's what they like back in the castle. How did we get on this already?
I don't even remember. We were talking about like how they got the Land Rover, or not the Land Rover, the dune buggy.
That's what it was.
Yeah, but anyways, I looked it up, and the way they got the rover on there, it was actually attached to like the underside of the probe, and it was folded up, so you didn't have to assemble it, but you did.
It's
unfold
one
it.
or the other. That's because you can tell by looking at it. It was just like I don't know, kind of like a Lego thing, sort of, or what are those? What were those old things called? Mechanics? Those old like framework things you made when you were a kid?
I had like Tinker toys.
I had Tinker Toys, and I had this really cool European Tinker Toy-esque kind of thing called Ramagon. Do you know what that was?
No, no, I don't celebrate that.
Yeah. Well, it was called Ramagon, but it was like a dodecahedron, basically. The shape, that was the joining shape. And it
Hmm.
had holes all over it, like a honeycomb, and there were pegs. So it was like Tinker Toys, but they were really futuristic looking, and because they had holes all over it, you could put stuff at different angles. So I used to make just weird castles. They'd make these big hats I put on my dad while he was asleep in his chair, and my sisters used to find that
Hmm.
hilarious.
Hmm.
Interesting. The good old days, old toys.
Oh no, there's some classic toys. What was your favorite childhood toy that you remember the most?
Well, Star Wars figures, of course. I still have those. I was like the target audience for the first batch.
Huh, I still
After that, I'd have to say Micronauts and Shogun Warriors. And alas, my Micronauts are gone. My mom threw them away.
It'd probably be worth something, huh?
Even they probably are, but they'd be worth more to me because I just love those fucking toys, and they remind me of my childhood. And they were just such cool toys, and I gave them to my nephew. That's what I actually did. And he probably just broke them and threw them around everywhere, and they ended up in the
Mm,
trash, which is a tragic end to some lovely toys that I really love. So
mm,
if I could ever get Micronauts again, it would be great. But I think all they've ever done is like come back through some other toy company as like collector's items, and you couldn't even like open the package, or else they just break because they were so brittle. And it's too bad. They were really cool. It was the same thing. It was like robots and monsters, and you could like take them apart. It was like early Transformers, like proto
oh,
Transformers. You could like join parts of other toys.
I think I remember Micronauts. The name
They
sounds
were
familiar.
late 70s. They were late 70s by
Hmm.
Mego Toy Company, and they were really cool because they were like die cast metal and plastic, and they had like wheels and like rubber tires for cars, and
Hmm.
robots, giant robots, and like monster assassin aliens with glow in the dark brains. It was so cool.
Ah,
I miss those. I used to play with those and my Star Wars guys. I had the Death Star, anything that fell out of the Death Star, it was magma.
Magma.
Of course, acid or lava, they would die instantly.
Oh,
So
oh,
anyway, speaking of die instantly, you moved away from Salt Lake.
yeah. And I died instantly, and Salt Lake died instantly after I moved.
Yeah, it's been crazy.
Been
You decided to
plunged into
move.
frozen.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, it's been hell. It's been a white hell here. It's crazy.
yeah. Well,
The thing that's funny is everybody's complaining about winter, and in case you don't know what we're talking about, everybody else, Salt Lake City, Utah has had pretty much drought for the last 4 or 5 years, and usually in winter we would get just pummeled by snow from about October onwards up through May almost.
hmm.
And the last few years we haven't had any snow at all, like maybe one big snowfall and that's it, and that would melt like in about a day. And then we've had nothing for years because global warming was happening, the Salt Lake was evaporating, and there was even moisture in the air, like humidity, because the lake was evaporating because it was getting so hot in the summer. And that made the winters really cold because of all that moisture in the air. And that's been what's brutal about it for me is that and the wind. These crazy like laser winds from hell are coming in like the last 2 years and like tearing down trees and stuff. And one year I had a tree impale my car and from the windstorms and we've had more snow this year and especially at this time of year, and I guess that we ever have since at least the early 80s, breaking records here. So apparently
That's
Mark
right.
leaving has upset the natural balance of things, and
Oh yes.
now he's going to
But
destroy Las Vegas, where
yep.
he now resides,
I'm gonna
the city of
teach.
sin.
Ah,
She was only 17, so I left and went to Vegas, where nobody would find us.
well. I think that song gets a bad rap, but it's it's great. It's like the that guitar riff. People don't. You might not know this, but it's probably one of the most difficult to play guitar riffs from the '80s.
How so?
Um, it's uh, It's kind of just nuance. It's got a lot of like it's very rhythmic, and so it's
I
hard
don't
to
think
get
I
kind
could
of
even
the
like.
swing down.
I can't even recall other than the chorus where they sing it, like what that song sounds like. I mean, to me, it's just that's the song is for them going, "She's only 17." That's all I know. I don't know any of the music. I can't hear it in my head.
Yeah, well, I sent you the video. You could have watched it, but that's all
And
right. I never listened to the shit you sent me, so but
yeah,
that'll change.
sure.
But yeah, no, it's just a tricky guitar riff, and deceptive in a way because it doesn't sound necessarily like super technical, but it's you ask anybody who's tried to play it, even like really technical playing guys, and they'll be like, "No, man, that's tricky riff." It's like and it's one of those riffs that like if you're a guitar player, especially from like kind of my generation, it's one of those like rite of passage type riffs, like hey, can you play the riff to 17? You're like, oh, dude, no, man.
So for
It's
the
like one of
glam
those
generation,
ones.
it's like your Smoke on the Water. Like that's the one everybody's trying to play.
Right. So it's
Is it
that
really?
riff
'Cause I've never heard anybody talk about that.
because no one can play it right. Another
Oh,
another riff from the 80s is, and it's kind of a similar riff, is Ratt's "Lay It Down." That's another
I
one that,
know that song because not only the video 100 times when I was looking for good videos on MTV back in those days, but I had that record for a while.
that's an excellent record. Invasion of Your Privacy, right?
Yeah, I didn't think so. You could tell it was their kind of like Kiss Asylum to this Priest Turbo. It was like Rat was kind
What?
of glammy to begin with, but they were kind of going more so in that direction. Well, we've had this conversation, but at that time, that's when metal was getting really commercial and polished and kind of more glammy, less like
Mm-hmm.
studs and other.
Mm-hmm.
To me, like people like me, I was like, nah, this isn't my thing. What's going on? That's of course
Mm-hmm.
later on I discovered Metallica, like that same later that year
Mm-hmm.
or around there anyway. But it was funny because on Headbangers Ball, or what used to be called Headbang, or what became Headbangers Ball, was a show called Heavy Metal Mania on MTV.
Yeah.
Hosted by D. Snyder. I believe it was either every day or every week. And I'd rush home from school to try and catch it. And one time he had Lemmy from Motorhead on, and they were talking like the beginning of the show. He's like, "Lemmy from Motorhead," and I was like, "Oh, Motorhead, that's that one band from England, Ace of Spades, right?" And Lemmy comes on, and the first video they play is Ratt. And I remember Lemmy going, "Yeah, right, Ratt. All right, there you go, Ratt. We're gonna play some Ratt." And D. Snyder was just laughing, and I think they were making fun of Ratt, and that was the video they played. Lay It Down. Or no, they played "You're in Love," the video for that.
Oh yeah, similar song. It's a good song though. You're in love.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, I'll see if I can play the riff to 17 if you recognize it. I'll play it on my guitar. Gotta tune it
But,
first though.
oh man, ladies and gentlemen, you're in for a treat. Hold on. Get the kids up. One, two.
Hold on. Hold on. Okay. I don't want it to be too loud or too quiet, so can you hear that? Out of tune. Hold on. Fuck, hold on. And there, that's the one. That's the one who's out of tune. Can you hear it?
Yeah.
Can you hear it? Okay. So this is 17. I'll try to play it.
Yeah, everybody. I can hear the vocals, but I don't know the words.
So I saw sparks fly from the corner of my eye. When I turned, ooh, it was love at first sight.
Now hold on a second. I got to say this. You were talking about how the lyrics were a little bit controversial, right? Because of the age
Little,
factor. Now
maybe,
you
yeah. I
just
mean,
said those lyrics. Those lyrics almost sound almost verbatim, slightly altered version of Christine 16 by
probably.
Kiss from
I mean,
Love.
it lyrically, it
And that was
is.
also a notorious song because of that. And then also Kiss had a song earlier on Hotter Than Hell, like Going Blind, where the guy Gene's lyrics said, "I'm 93, you're 16." Yeah, and everybody was like, "What?"
Yeah.
So go on, tell us, like, what's Kip Winger talking about here? Is it really he fucked the girl that was 17?
No, like it's it's the thing is like he's from Colorado, and at the time the age of consent was 17, so it's just a rock song that's kind of pushing the a little bit of the sultry angle,
Well, I
but
mean, I figured that's what it was, but I mean, they couldn't really just get away with singing something like that today, though, could they? Could they play that song today without getting any shit?
I mean they probably get shit. They still play the song. The joke is like basically when the song was written, if you that girl that was 17 back then is now like 52 years old.
So there was really a girl that was 17?
Yeah, most girls that live past 17 are 17 at one
I'm
time
not
or
saying.
another.
My point is, did he really fuck a girl or something that was that young? I mean, I'm sure it happened with all the rock stars back
I was
then.
gonna say it was the 80s, and he was a gorgeous, gorgeous man.
He was a pretty boy, wasn't he? He was like the Brad Pitt of the metal, the hard rock scene.
Yeah, he was, man. He kind of had that scruff and those blue, beautiful eyes
That
and the
tight
moves,
ass.
dude. That tight ass, and he was a ballet dancer, so he just had moves, you know.
Well, shit, this just gets better and better, doesn't it?
Yeah, I love Winger, dude.
Paul Stanley was a cab driver. Kip Winger was
Mm-hmm.
a handsome Brad Pitt ballet dancer.
Yeah,
But they both made out pretty well.
yeah. Paul a little better, but Winger's still going, so awesome.
From what I heard, Winger is he's still doing stuff like all over the place. Like he's in Nashville now and just playing with multiple bands like Foreigner and Cinderella or whatever or something like that. Or not
No,
specifically,
uh,
but like rock bands.
Paul Taylor, who was the second guitar player on the first two Winger albums, played with Tom Kiefer's band, who was the singer for Cinderella.
Right.
Um, Kip Winger, he put out a couple solo albums, but like kind of his main thing is he did I think an opera,
Yeah, that's right. I heard that.
and was Grammy nominated. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
I heard that. It's right. That was kind of surprising. I believe it was Eddie Trunk who mentioned that. I was like, what, really? And he'd been doing that for quite a chunk of the past, like, couple of decades, like the 90s. And
yeah,
it's
and I
kind of
think
weird
he's
that
like
he chose to do
written.
that, but I guess you got to go where the money was, I guess, or maybe he really truly loved it. I don't know. I guess
No,
if you from ballet, you probably had a knack for it.
yeah, he loved it, but Winger has always still been kind of going on. They put out, um, I think they're on about 7 albums now, 8 albums. You know,
That's funny. I never would have thought. I only know about that one, but then, of course, I didn't listen to Glam back in the days. So, would you
I like
consider Winger a glam band per se?
no, no. I mean, you could call them like a hair band or glam band. I think we talked about it. Like, I'm kind of indifferent. Like, if you want to call them glam, that's fine. Like I
Well,
wouldn't be
we
like,
covered
no, they're
this.
not glam. Yeah,
I've
but
been listening to some of our older shows when we talk about Celtic Frost when they took on the Cold Lake persona, and that was sort of
mhm,
glammy, but it was more of that glitter,
it was trashy
gravelly,
glam.
gritty thing, like that LA Guns thing, Guns N' Roses.
Hmm.
Really,
Whereas
it seems like glam proper was only like for a little while there, like Poison and some of those
hmm
bands, Brittany Fox. That didn't really last much past like 2 or 3 years, and the rest of it was just more like Winger and those
hmm
kind of bands where they were pretty boys, but they weren't like
they
overly.
weren't, yeah, like all yeah, with
And it
makeup.
seems like they
That's
kind of got back to focusing on the music once they dropped the
mhm.
makeup. That be accurate, or was glam kind of just musically overlooked because of their appearance?
I'd say I'd say a little bit of both because like
Because I know the
but
guys in
also
Poison and everything, they could
mhm.
play and all that. It's just wasn't anything I was interested in. But they weren't just like pretty boys. They could play, but there were lots of other bands that were copycats that were just not so good.
Yeah, and Poison, my favorite Poison album is called Native Tongue, and it was their kind of like, hey, we're being serious, so they, took off most of the makeup and everything, and they replaced CC DeVille with probably my all-time favorite guitar player. His name is Richie Kotzen. But that album was not well received. I mean, I think it sold like, 200 or 300,000, went gold. But back then that was a flop, when it came to album sales. Then they also put out an overlooked album called, I think it's called, oh God, what was it called? Hollywood. Oh,
No,
but it was with a guitar player named Blue Saraceno, and that album was excellent. So.
So I guess in a way, well, I wouldn't say that. I was going to make a comparison that black metal may have been the same way, but really, I think it's kind of the opposite. When black metal came out, like the Norwegian version of it, that would be Wave 2, technically. It was really serious, really dark, really grim, really hateful, not specifically to any one group of people, just people in general.
Sure.
And that's what it was all about. It was never Nazi or anything like that, but that's when it was kind of really just straight up raw, stripped down, hateful, ugly, just kind of thrash, basically. And the bands wore corpse paint and stuff, but it seems like black metal, maybe it is a good comparison, because once they took off the makeup, bands like and Slave never wore makeup. The Emperor had all the corpse paint, but once they dropped it, it looks like they got really serious about their music and they became almost progressive metal.
Oh yeah, well, a good example is Izon from Emperor, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And when he went solo, he went total like prog avant-garde kind of thing.
Actually, it's funny. There's a band called Dodhiemsgard. Do you know them?
Nope.
They're a Norwegian black metal band, and the problem in the 90s was it was kind of like Glam. It was like everybody was in the same bands. It was all these same guys from Norway, the same core group. So you had Emperor, Immortal, Darkthrone guys, all in the same bands with a few other different people here and there. So there's a band called Dodhiemsgard. I never actually listened to much of their music. They were kind of marketed as like techno black metal. What I heard of them, it didn't seem that way, but it was a little bit more like industrialish, or at least not so much industrial as it was just avant-garde. One of my friends posted on Facebook, Dwayne, this guy that used to be in a death metal band called Decrepit. I had been in touch with them forever. He used to sing for Incantation too. Posted this video of something coming out new from this Dodhiemsgard band. So good, so progressive. You would have loved it. I thought of you immediately. Like, even the video was like a Moebius cartoon. You know who Moebius is?
No.
Moebius is like a famous science fiction comic book artist for the most part. He's European. I think Jean Moebius. I think he's French or Swiss. But anyway, he was kind of on par with Jack Kirby. They both drew Silver Surfer back in the 70s. But Moebius had a really European style to his art that not a lot of Americans liked. But I like that. That's what this video looks like. But the video is cool. It's not Moebius, it's someone else. But the song, so like just weird, dark, progressive. It was, I think you would really like it. You should check it out. I'll have to find the link and send it to you. It's on Peaceville Records. I can't remember the name of the new album. Really good though. Like very like, it's not black metal at all. It's not like like that. It's clean vocals. It's, I don't know. I think you'd like it. I'll have to.
Moebius.
But that's kind of what I'm saying, is black metal kind of went that way. There was a lot of progressive stuff, but because they were coming from that niche that was so dark and so venomous and spiteful, it's different, but it's good. So it's almost like prog for guys who don't like prog, like me. So.
Okay, so Moebius was, and let me know if this is the same one, an electronic rock trio from Brooklyn.
No. Moebius is one man. I can't remember. I think it's Jean. I could look it up right now, I guess, but it's Jean. I want to say Jean Moebius, or he's a French artist. Right, Moebius artist, Mobius.
Okay.
Or at least I think that's how it's spelled. It could be an E in there. Silver Surfer, Moebius, and actually, if you've seen the movie The Hunt for Red October, that was a running gag in the movie. Is one of the thug soldiers thought Moebius was the best Silver Surfer artist versus the good guy soldier who thought Jack Kirby was the best. So there you had your USA thing.
So Moebius artist, Jean Garad?
Yeah. That's it.
So he was in a industrial black metal band?
No. I'm just saying. this band, Dodhiemsgard, they just released a brand new video, and the art in the video goes so well with the music because the music has that sound. It's like a very retro kind of King Crimson thing, but with a new edge to it. But the video, the artwork in the video is like an animated cartoonish thing, and it's reminiscent of Moebius's artwork, but it's so European that it just works perfectly with that. That's where I was going with that. It's a big deal to me. You know me, I'm pro-European in my metal, so that's all I was saying. He's not in a band. He just happens to be an artist whose like work, like that video reminds me of his work, and it goes with the music really well. I can't remember for the life of me. I'll have to find it here.
Jean Gerard.
So you don't know who I'm talking about?
No, the band? No.
Yeah, they're relatively obscure. They only had really notoriety from the fact that Fenriz, the drummer of Darkthrone, was in their band for like 1 or 2 records when they started.
Oh, so they're a Norwegian band?
Oh, yeah. And they were on, I believe they were on Satyr of Satyricon record label, Moonfog.
Are you talking about Ring Van Moebius?
What?
Ring Van Moebius?
No.
A retro prog rock band from Kopervik, Norway?
Meobius. Moebius.
Oh, Meobius.
Well, anyways, Dodhiemsgard is such a good band. I never heard their stuff because I was thinking, oh, it's just going to be like the same thing, screechy black metal. And I don't know how the old stuff was. It could have been that, but their new stuff, yeah, it's called Black Medium Current. So I'm going to put that video on your Facebook page. I truly think you're going to like it. And when I keep telling you to listen to black metal, that's why, because I think it's something you're going to like. I would never send you something that's just all like all the time.
Should.
Well, you won't listen to it. Why should I?
I know. But I don't listen to your other stuff either.
Well, yeah, we got to talk about more stuff on this show than just Glam and Celtic Frost. Come on, man. Our audience wants to hear about black metal, too.
Do they?
They do indeed.
All one of them? Well, I mean, yeah, because...
Hey, our last video had 37 views, goddammit. Probably because I was talking so much shit. And on that note, I'm sorry to the following people. No, I'm kidding.
No, yeah, no apologies.
I'm not going to apologize.
We can adjust along the way, but we apologize to no one. All right.
So speaking of you moving away to Las Vegas, it's kind of funny because strangely enough, not only is the Las Vegas Death Fest seemingly put to rest, but you don't get any shows there for such a big city.
Yeah. I mean, we get them, but just
probably just the big shows like Kiss or something or Motley Crue. Does Iron Maiden, would they even play there?
I think so.
I mean, who lives in Las Vegas? It seems like it's only a tourist town, really.
Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, there's some fairly big rock stars that live here. Jakey Lee, Jakey Lee from Ozzy Osbourne.
Oh, fuck yeah. You guys are going to have to play.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Who else is there?
I'll have to show him a few things. Johnny Monaco, who used to sing for Enough's Enough. And he currently plays in Stephen Pearcy of Ratt's band. And Stephen Pearcy of Ratt lives here.
Now, what is it about Vegas? Is there like a budding music scene there, like Nashville? No. I mean, there's the music scene, like for cover bands, that are good. But I don't know. Do they play at casinos and stuff? Is it getting to be that bad now, or?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like bands like Ratt will play at casinos for sure, But think about their fan base is.
Would that be the kind of thing you could play at a casino? Because I mean, I know Tom Jones and Wayne Newton and all those kind of guys would always be in Vegas, or Elvis back in the day. But why would anybody you want to see Ratt?
Def Leppard did a residency here, so they were playing like every night almost at I can't remember which casino, but yeah, no, I mean, it might be kind of because I'm trying to think of who else lives out here. There's a few more, like Brian Slagle lives here. I mean, that makes any difference. Brian Slagle. I don't know, a few other people, like I said, Stephen Piercy, Vince Neil.
Last I heard, everybody was going to Nashville because that was the big music town. But then I heard Austin was like the next one up. That was going to be where everybody was going. Austin, Texas.
Yeah, people are moving to Austin, because Joe Rogan and Elon Musk. I don't know what their music scene. I mean, Texas has always had like a music scene, but I don't know exactly what's going on in Austin right now. I know Jason McMaster from Dangerous Toys lives there.
That's well, he's from Texas, though, I think, isn't he?
Yeah.
Texas has always had a pretty kick-ass metal scene, but we've covered that one. But I don't think I know anybody from Vegas other than there's like one or two grind death metal bands I know, like Righteous Pigs and Goat Lord. But other than that, I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
Oh, there's a really, really good Vegas death metal band. I'm going to find their name because it was really good. Like, it's a death metal, it's a death metal band. So, like, a lot of times they don't have the most memorable names. But these guys are called... Cordyceps.
What?
Cordyceps.
Never heard of it.
They're great, dude. Like, kind of a I mean, they're technical but brutal. So not overly technical. Like, it's not like annoying technical, you know what I mean?
So it's my kind of technical.
Yeah, the thing is like yours and my kind of technical are probably very similar if the truth were known, right? Like, it's got to have some groove, and
we have discovered, I think, in the past few shows, some of which aren't up yet for consumption for the public, but I have conceded some of your points that I'm a little bit more biased towards bands like Cannibal Corpse simply because of just 10 years of my radio show and people giving me shit about playing them, and I remember things I heard from them way back when, like the first 3 albums. I'm just still kind of holding them to that. So
I would listen to some of their later stuff, actually. I think
what's that?
You might dig their later stuff, actually, over the...
Well, like I said, it's probably time that I go back, revisit the ones I've heard, and like listen to their newer stuff, because Immolation, for being like the death metal band everybody respects, is like, I bought their first album, Dawn of Possession, and I was like, and I never like paid them any attention since, and I've always kind of used them as a measuring stick for bands that are average. And upon hearing their newest album, To Make You Happy, for one show, I listened to it. I was like, man, this is actually pretty good. It's not even what I thought. There's not wanky solos everywhere. This is actually pretty more like brutal than I would have thought.
Yeah, it's brutal. It's super dark, and
I went back, listened to Carcass Heartwork, an album I've always despised, and it's not something I'd listen to all the time, but it's really not too dissimilar from Necroticism, its predecessor.
And their two most recent albums, Surgical Still, and what was the last one?
Torn Arteries.
Torn Arteries aren't too far removed from that album either. They're just kind of
also funny. Yeah, it's true. They're not that different, but they're also different enough that it was like an entry point for me to get back into Carcass. And that's funny because we went to that massive jam-packed show with Amon Amarth in December. Remember that? We both got sick. And then it turned out
you got sicker than me.
I don't know.
I was only a little scratchy for one day, but I was fine.
Well, I don't smoke, so I probably had more fresh lung tissue just exposed, waiting to be destroyed. But
yeah, that must be it.
I probably got it from you, motherfucker. It's probably that goodnight kiss. I told you to get away from me. Like you insisted on going a little longer. I was like, damn, guy.
You asked for tongue, man.
Yeah, I did. Well, anyway, I meant kiss. I meant put on some Kiss, not kiss me. Jesus Christ.
But then they put on Animalize and you lost your mind.
Oh, man. He animalized me. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Well, anyways, it was funny because Carcass was there. Neither one of us really wanted to see Amon Amarth, but we sat through it. We thought, they're okay. But now Carcass is coming back to a smaller venue, which is going to be a lot more prolific for me, and because they'll probably play more of their old stuff because they're the headlining band. Well, they'll probably just come down off the stage and they go, "Hey Jeff, remember me?"
Mhm.
And then Amon Amarth is coming back, and they're opening this time for Ghost, who we've talked about quite a bit.
And I still haven't heard a single song, so I probably should listen to some Ghost. Damn it.
I actually have the first two. I could put them in the Dropbox. They'll be there.
Yeah.
You don't have to listen to them, but I think you're gonna like them.
I know, and that's what I'm afraid of.
Well, like I said before, they're not trying to be a metal band, so they shouldn't be getting the shit they're getting about being a metal band because they're not. They never said they were.
Are they
In
getting
fact,
shit
they
for
haven't
that?
said anything. People are just like, Ghost, fucking posers.
Well, no, and believe it or not, that's kind of, I think my aversion to them is similar to your aversion to like the Cannibal Corpse stuff. It's just like, okay, too many people that I'm just kind of like, that annoy
Ghost,
me.
I think what
Love
it is,
Ghost.
appealing to like the mass markets, like people who don't listen to metal, like per
Of
se.
course, yeah.
Kind of like Amon Amarth, how we're like, why the fuck is it so crowded here? We just want to see Carcass, but all those people were there for Amon Amarth because they're a
Yeah.
much more accessible band than Carcass or Obituary.
But they were good.
Yeah, they weren't bad. And then Ghost, I think, is the same way. Plus, you see a lot of like the quote unquote hipster guys, which was kind of an epidemic about maybe 10, 15 years ago now. The guys with the full beard and the glasses who weren't really in the know about metal, but they were internet metal stars, kind of, if you know what I mean.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So, and they always had Ghost shirts. And in fact, I was in Portland one time on vacation, and it was the cliche guy, like suspenders, Ghost shirt, yellow Ghost shirt, black pants, black boots, glasses, horn rim glasses, full bushy beard, like shaved head, tattoos. It was like, so this is a hipster. Is that what a hipster is? So I never quite got it, like what a hipster really was supposed to be. But I think I know now. But
Yeah, hipsters don't even know what they're supposed to be. That's why they're so dorky.
hey, there you go. Same thing with wrestling. There's wrestling hipsters now too. So anyway, I had a question for you. You were saying Morbid Angel played a show and the roof caved in on like their audience. What happened there?
I think a tornado hit the venue. They weren't playing at the time, but it was the venue. I think it was in Tennessee. Let's bring it up the news.
I'm pretty sure it was Illinois. I was scanning through Blabbermouth earlier.
We'll see. Morbid Angel. Illinois. You were right.
So the roof caved in.
Yeah. One attendee, and I don't know how many were injured, but several people were injured. So.
Yeah, from what I saw on online, it looked like there were quite a few people in the hospital. Even Morbid Angel were commenting on it. So I mean, always.
Yeah. Yeah.
So and
yes.
actually, what I heard a rumor. I've seen people online putting post up that David was back in Morbid Angel. Is that true?
No. I don't know who. I don't know who's saying such horrible things. No, it's Steve Tucker. Although Tucker looks like he shaved his head.
Yeah, I saw that. I'm like, wait a minute, that's not the same dude, is it? But maybe he's going bald too. So
I guess so. Yeah. I mean, it's too bad. He had a really fine head of hair back.
What's funny is, have you seen Bruce Dickinson lately?
No.
Yeah. He looks like, well, he shaved his head too, or at least he's got his hair cut really short and it's just gray, and he's like really scrawny now. I know he had cancer, of course, but he just looks like your neighbor or like your band teacher from school or something. Like he just looks like an ordinary Joe now. It's like that. This is the guy who flies this band around the world in an airplane, pilots the plane, is a swordsman, and does all these great vocals and all these great stories on stage. But he looks like your fucking psychology teacher from high school.
Well, I'm looking at the picture right now. It looks like he's got his hair pulled back.
Are you sure? It looks like it's just short. I don't think he has long hair anymore, does he?
I mean, I don't know, but I'm looking at like the Blabbermouth story. I'm assuming it's probably the same one you looked at, April 5th, 2023, where he's getting married for the third time. Congrats, by the way.
Oh, there you go.
But to me, it looks like his hair's pulled back. I think it might be still long-ish.
So that's why I wanted to ask you too. Like, okay, Iron Maiden. So they have their own plane. Bruce flies it. Clearly, they've got money to take care of themselves. What do their roadies make? What does the average roadie make, and what would say Iron Maiden's roadies make wage-wise? Like, what do they get? Are they just minimum wage? Are they $8.95 an hour plus benefits? I mean, are they getting like
I don't know. They're
union
well.
wages, or are they making like rock star money, but like a little bit less than the rock stars? Like, I mean, what does a roadie make?
I'm gonna for one, I'm gonna look at and see if I can find out what an Iron Maiden roadie.
I was just thinking because
Makes.
we were talking earlier tonight, and I told you about some of the stories, like how I have a lot of unauthorized Kiss books where like it talks stories about how Gene used to treat the roadies and call them just like names that like bass, like bass tech was bass, and he'd call a guy bass, and the guy got pissed off and said, "Hey, my name's Fred, not bass," or whatever, or just spitting his kerosene after he did his fire act down in the pit, and like it would be all over this dude. The dude like bitched him out, like, "Dude, quit spitting on me. I'm not a fucking animal." It's just shit like that. You'd hear these stories. I'm like, well, what does a roadie make to put up with that, or just rock star behavior? Like, who wants to be paid minimum wage to pick out the brown M&Ms?
Hmm.
And what would they make? I mean,
So it's saying about like the median income, at least as far as what like the internet's telling me is right around 34, 35 is like the average income for a roadie. But I have a feeling.
35K,
Pardon? Yeah.
35K a year. That's it.
But then there's one that says the average roadie makes close to 60,000 a year. Because I think you're also like you're averaging down from the intern or the person that's just rolling cables to like tour managers
Well,
and
let's go back,
soundboard.
rewind back to the 80s, like Iron Maiden, the Power Slave tour, like one of the most famous world tours ever. Like, what would their roadies be making? I mean, they had the roadies' names and pictures in their book and the album.
Yeah. Well,
Like,
I was gonna say like Iron Maiden has had like the same road crew for almost like since day one, if I'm not mistaken.
well, Kiss
So,
always had some of the same personnel in their
mhm.
road crew too. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Do they pay? I mean, because they're rich rock stars, do they pay their roadies like nicer
I
than
think
usual? I mean,
probably like I'd imagine. So there's a few bands that have another band that's had the same road crew almost since day one as Rush, right? And their road crew is like loyal as shit to them. So I'm assuming they probably really take care of their road crew. And I think a lot of times you can tell how well the road crew's taken care of by how well the show goes. You know what I mean? You watch an Iron Maiden show and it goes off without a hitch usually, you know, and it's spectacular looking and the sound is awesome. Same with
unless of course
Rush.
you listen to Mission from Airy.
Mission from Ari. Yeah, but that was a drummer. It's not even a musician. But
Oh, says
well,
the guitarist, dime a dozen guitarist.
but anyway, no, but then if you've ever seen like a show where the sound is cutting out and then there's problems, and then you'll see the band member get furiously angry at one of the
Well, how many
parodies.
times is it the roadie's fault though? Because all the shows I've seen with technical
Hardly ever.
problems wasn't the
It's usually,
roadie's fault. Like I saw Kiss in 1985 at the Salt Palace. Their show was so overloaded on power with lights and sound that it just blew the breakers there. They couldn't finish. They just came out and waved goodbye after like 6 or 7 songs, and that happened a couple of times on that tour. Um, and then like David Vincent, that time we saw Morbid Angel, and his mic stand kept breaking and falling, and he just finally threw it behind him and just like I can't remember what he did, if he yelled the vocals out or what.
I gotta find it. I had I remember I did a review of that show. I was writing for that Australian uh, publication. Back at the time, it was called Metal as Fuck. But I was sent there to do a review, and Meredith, is that her name?
Yeah,
The
Mary,
wife or girlfriend of the one of your employees at Abyss.
she worked at the Abyss too, and she worked with me at the barbecue. My old buddy Meredith, she just had a birthday a little while ago. Happy birthday, Meredith.
Yeah, so I actually bought tickets for her and her boyfriend because she was a photographer, and I had her do photos for that. I gotta find them because she took some really awesome photos of when that microphone stand fell apart, and he's like picking it up, and like it's like the mic is dangling, and he's still singing into it, but he's got it like just held up above his head like some kind of
Yeah,
crumbling corpse.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing: is okay. So his roadie set up the microphone, but maybe he grabs it really hard or something, and it stripped the
Hmm.
screw or something, or like what happened? I mean, is that the roadie's fault or what? I mean, that's I've never seen anything
Well,
go wrong because of a roadie's fuck up.
it's sometimes it's nobody's fault, you know. I mean, if everything was looking good before, and then whatever like was rusting out or whatever, load bearing, pin in that mic stand decided to give away. I mean, I don't think you can, I'm sure roadies do get yelled at for that, but that's not a roadie's fault. No,
Well, I mean,
you don't
let's
know.
take that whole Van Halen story. Like, what prompted them to do the brown M&M thing? Were they
Well, okay,
shitty roadies?
no, that's the explanation for the brown M&Ms
I know why
is
they did it. I'm just saying, like, what initiated that whole clause in the first place? Was it because they had
mm,
shoddy jobs done?
probably they probably had like a something go wrong that was an obvious like oversight, so they're like, okay, well, if we can't count on you guys to even, just to get the M&Ms right, can we trust you with lighting truss?
See, I was thinking
And
about that. I'm thinking, okay, so maybe the roadies thought, okay,
and that
fuck
was
brown
for the
M&M, that's
venues.
not important. Like the truss is important. So maybe they fucked that off. And which brown M&M? Because there were two brown ones, unless you count the other one as black. Light brown, dark brown, huh?
Brown, just brown.
The light brown ones.
Yeah,
Because the
I don't
other
know. I
one's
mean, I
dark
don't know. I
brown,
think
not
they're,
black.
yeah, but I'm assuming. I don't know, dude.
Why don't you know, Mark?
But that was also for the venues, I think, as well, because they're using the venue security and things like that.
But I've got to
So
think, like take Kiss. Like I told you, there's various interviews and books I've read about Kiss, how they're like off to the side, like with groupies, and like, oh yeah, isn't this the life? And then there's their roadies, like 6 hours later, tearing down the shit at 1 in the morning, and they get cold pizza. I've read that kind of stuff.
yeah, I don't
So
know if it was
Kiss,
that
as
bad.
much as they are, take care of their roadies. Like, do their roadies make like six figures or like the upper 50, 60,000 a year, or do they make like union bullshit wages, like $20 an hour or something? Or
Oh, I think most like because I think most roadies are like freelance sort of positions, but they are a union situation, meaning that you belong to a union and you kind of freelance yourself out. But
so I
with
wonder if
someone like
there's like perks, like if you go with a bigger band like Kiss or Maiden or somebody, then you get more perks, or like Paul
yeah,
McCartney or something, versus if you're with
well,
like Ratt or Twisted Sister, then it's like, oh, whatever.
I think the way it works is like, okay, like a band like Iron Maiden, um, Kiss, Elton John. I think they actually probably pick they probably have their own crew, right? Like they've picked, and you know what I mean? Whereas like another band, like say Ratt was going on tour, or like a medium-sized band, they probably have like an agency that they tap into, for bus driver, road crew, and that kind of thing. But I think with the high-end bands, they hire kind of almost like internally, right? They're an organization. Iron Maiden is a business like organization. There's secretaries, there's um, assistants, there's bookkeepers. You know what I mean? So they probably have like it's almost like a department of their company, which is road crew, right? That they have probably on retainer, that are paid even when they're not on tour, just so that when they do go on tour, they're not taken up by somebody else.
Now, the other thing I was wondering too, and I know partially it's sometimes the venue's responsibility, but who provides food? I mean, are the band on their own, or like the road crew on their own for food? They just scatter when it's over and find like a fast food place that's open,
Hmm.
or
Well,
there's
so yeah, I
someone
mean,
here.
you have your rider, right? And a lot of times the rider will include a separate section for roadies. for the roadies, which will be, and the band will determine what the roadies get. But there's usually something like, okay, we want, no alcohol for the roadies, but we want, there to be a pizza for them, at this time, da 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 da. We want plenty of water, that kind of thing.
Because I have two funny stories.
Plus, I'm sure there's like a per diem situation in a lot of those things where it's like you get $100 a day, $50 a day, whatever per diem for food.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, they play mostly at night, and by the time you're done, especially in most towns you're in, like in, middle heartland America, everything's closed at like 8, 9, 10 o'clock. So by the time the concert's over, what are their options? Like 7-Eleven nachos? I mean,
I was going to say, there's probably a lot of gas station burritos and that kind of thing going on too. It's just.
I guess they have their tour bus. They can go to the grocery store and buy real food and make it in there too. But the funny thing is like one story I have was when Mike Kimball, when he left here to go tour with Dying Fetus, when they came here and played, they were with a couple of bands, Divine Empire and Skinless, and the other band, the other offshoot of Dying Fetus. I can't remember. What the fuck is their name? Do you know who I'm talking about? It was like the dude who started Dying Fetus, but he moved off and did his own band.
I didn't know that.
Jason something. I can't remember. He was in Fetus early on, but he made another band, and they were here. Anyway, the guy from Divine Empire kept coming on stage going, yeah, thanks to the venue, man. Great night. Cold beer, all kinds of food back there, water. Yeah, awesome. I'm like, Mike, after the show, I'm like, Mike, why did that guy keep saying that? Did they really kick ass with the catering? He's like, no. They had a pitcher of water and some Dixie cups. No food, no beer. I was like, what?
Really?
I'm like, dude. He's like, and it was at Deviate, back when Deviate was still around. So apparently it was Deviate's responsibility to feed the band. They didn't do shit. So the guy kept coming out on stage just like talking shit. It was sarcasm. I didn't pick up on it until after. I mean, I was like, oh, I guess they had a good catering back there. But then Mike told me the truth of it after I saw him after the show. I was like, oh, shit. That made me think all those years ago. I'm like, well, who feeds them? Do they find their own shit, or is the venue supposed to do it, or
it's a little bit of both? I mean, if the venue's reading the riders, and generally the rider will have like a list of food items and stuff like that, and even like something like after the show or the night, you deliver 12 pizzas to our bus.
I would think if you're a bigger band, like say Kiss or somebody, or Maiden, or even Cannibal Corpse or somebody, you'd have someone on your tour with you from the label that would take care of that, right?
I think someone like Cannibal does. I mean, they have their a tour manager and that kind of thing. But and they have a nice bus, so they can actually probably stock their bus pretty well too. In those kind of cases.
Divine Empire and Dying Fetus, when they came, they were all like crammed into like two little Astro vans or something with trailers, like U-Haul trailers. I was like, oh god.
Yeah, there's no refrigerator in there and that kind of thing. So in bands like Kiss and Iron Maiden, they probably have a chef. They probably bring a chef on tour with them.
Well, probably, but I mean, what about medium grade bands like say Ratt, Twisted Sister, or something like that, or like
Rider
Side or whoever? I mean,
just Rider, and then if they're not prepared, like DSI probably has a pretty decent bus situation, so they could probably keep food on hand. But I think it's just really if they probably include it on the rider, and a lot of times the rider, like if they might ask for like, okay, we want 3 loaves of Wonder Bread and a bunch of sandwich meats, and they just take that onto the bus with them, make sandwiches.
So I remember one time, years ago, I was at the barbecue and working there, and we used to have this thing called Salt Lake City Waiter, like before the days of DoorDash.
So I remember that, SLC Waiter.
Yeah, and the guy who started that is actually a guy named Sven, whose parents are from Norway, and he's a total punk rocker, like loves Misfits, Danzig, all that kind of stuff. He's like your punk alter ego. He loves all that famous like Alice in Chains, like Jane's Addiction, that kind of stuff. Pretty cool guy. He started that company, and you'd call them, and they go to the restaurant, get the food, and bring it to you. And it was way ahead of his time because it didn't really pick up too much outside of Salt Lake City. But now, look, you have DoorDash, Grubhub, Uber Eats, and that's all people do. It's like 1/3 of our business at the restaurant. But one night, I remember it was Salt Lake City waiter had this order come in, and it was for, I can't remember where. I want to say it was at the E Center, now known as the Maverick Center, which is out by where I live. But it was Journey and Blue Oyster Cult, I think, and I made their dinner, their food, because it said on the sheet, and I knew they were in town that night. It said Blue Oyster Cult, Joe, yada yada yada, Bob, pulled pork sandwich, and
Oh, cool.
Jack, brisket platter. I was like, oh shit, I'm making dinner for Journey and Blue Oyster Cult, and I think it was Crocus too, or somebody.
Oh, wow.
I remember, and maybe it wasn't. It was some other
I
band.
don't think Crocus.
Like,
Yeah.
I was like, holy shit, I'm making the dinner for Blue Oyster Cult, man. And
I'm gonna guess Night Ranger, maybe. I don't know.
it was somebody. I can't remember if it was Crocus or not, but it was somebody. But
Was it?
yeah, I mean, but somebody ordered that food for them, and that's better food than McDonald's or 7-Eleven nachos.
Oh, well, for sure, yeah. In a band like Journey or something, they could probably get that sort of service. But if we're talking about like your unique leader signed brutal death metal band, I mean, dude, they're just like, okay, like mom packed us lunches, and then gave I've got $20. What do you got? All right, we're gonna go buy the dollar menu and talk.
Well, it's funny, just talking of food, I just went to see an industrial band from Germany last Tuesday called Suicide Commando. They were here in Salt Lake at the Metro. Not a very big turnout, there was a few diehard industrial people there. But it was funny because they posted on Facebook the next day, like, thanks Salt Lake for a great show, and thanks to Rodizio Grill for a food orgasm. I was like, oh shit. They went to the Rodizio Grill, one of my favorite restaurants, and that ain't cheap. That's like 35,
like
$20 a person.
Yeah.
So but they went there and ate, Like, I guess that answers the question if they were vegetarian or not, but I guess not necessarily though. But
yeah. So I don't know. So there you go. I mean, it's all about getting, it's all about finding food, shelter, and love. So.
And love.
But on that note, speaking of food, shelter, and love, I need to go get me some before I fade.
You ain't fading.
I'm fading, dude.
No, you're not.
I have to pee and get a cigarette, and there are wolves after me.
Just pee while you're sitting there.
No, I don't do that. I don't do that anymore.
I see. Have you? You were telling me you learned this Winger song, but it was something. There was a controversy with Metallica.
Yeah, but I don't want to give away the whole thing because I haven't like totally recorded it. But there is a beef with Metallica and Winger. I think they buried it, but in the Metallica video, I think it was the video of Sad But True. There shows the band throwing darts at Kip Winger.
And why is that?
Because they were they weren't thinking, and they were probably drinking, and they made a mistake.
Well, okay, that obviously, but I mean, what was the controversy?
That they were throwing darts at Kip Winger, and then it was like, so Kip Winger kind of
did Winger owe them money, or did he rip off one of their
because there's like, hey, we're Metallica, and Winger's wimps. We're Metallica, heavy metal band, So it was because Kip Winger is like a pretty boy, and they were jealous. They were just jealous of his beautiful, scruffy beard and high kicks.
Have you heard the new Metallica
bass without touching it? Yeah, it's not bad.
Like Death Magnetic again, or is it going back to the more rock stuff again?
I would say from what I've heard so far, it sounds like they're still into Death Magnetic. They're trying. I think they want to go back, or at least are doing their best to kind of capture the thrash scene. Early thrash.
Interesting.
Time will tell. We can talk about that on the next episode. We'll listen to the singles. And I don't know, the album might be out already, so we'll have to check. Sound good?
I don't know, does it?
Yes.
There you go.
All right.
Sent you some stuff in your Dropbox that you're gonna love.
Sounds good, buddy. As far as like next time, let's just shoot for maybe earlier in the day. But
well, I would have done that. Like
I
it
know,
was
I know.
stupid. I got up at 7 this morning for this chair to
I
be
know you
delivered.
had a chair.
Yeah, well, I need it for my neck because I have a couch and my head just bobs around on the couch when I fall asleep, and it
It
hurts
does.
because it's saggy. So I got this chair and it's perfect, but they didn't deliver it. So they were going to come at 7:30 this morning on my day off. So I got up for it, and then they said they'd come already. I'm like, no, you didn't. No one knocked on my door, and they said, oh, we called. I'm like, I got one random phone call from a number I don't know, and I didn't hear it. Sorry. I mean, no one knocked on my door, though. They're like, well, we called. I'm like, well, you deliver furniture, you knock on the door or ring the doorbell. You don't just call and go, oh, well, and run off. So I spent the entire day calling back and forth with RC Willie, waiting for them to show up. Then they said they'd come again, and they didn't. So I ended up wasting my entire day sitting there waiting for those fuckers, and then it pissed me off because I had all this other shit I could have done. So I was really fucking pissed off. So yeah, long story short, that's how my day was spent.
First world problems there,
Yeah, that's what they're saying. It was really not that hard of a deal in the scheme of things.
Yeah.
I got him to take off the delivery fee now. So
There you go. See?
but anyway, all right, man. Well, do you want me to sit? You don't have a record player, do you?
No, but I plan on buying vinyl. Like, 'cause lately I'm thinking about like retirement. Not really retirement, but just like, you know what? I don't know like the stock market like I used to, but I do know that vinyl, I think if I pick the right ones, will actually increase their value. So I might start buying some vinyl, but I might not ever open it either.
I wouldn't say that because everybody's buying vinyl right now. So they're even re-releasing classics like King Crimson and the Beatles on vinyl. So everybody's going to have it. So it's going to be saturated like the comic book market in the 90s.
Well, that's what I meant by like ordering, picking the right ones. Like maybe there's like something that's like, okay, we're only releasing 100 copies of this color or whatever. I mean,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's not going to matter. It's
shooting me down, man.
The only way you're going to get vinyl or anything that's going to be worth money is if like Paul McCartney suddenly dies or something like that, or one of the Dark Throne guys goes to jail or something, or who knows what. But
yeah, that would never happen.
But talking of vinyl, the reason I asked you is because number one is I have a record player. It needs a little bit of work, but you can have it if you want. I'll ship it to you. And number two, because I just released a 7-inch, a long, years long awaited 7-inch by Shambles, a band on my label. And it's really sexy clear vinyl with gold and black splatter, and it's a 7-inch record in a gatefold sleeve. And nice. Shambles is a dark, heavy, doomy death metal kind of music that's from Thailand.
I'll tell you what, like, I mean, it is on my list of things to get is actually a record player. So you don't have to send me yours, buddy, but because the shipping on that alone.
It's just an extra one I have. It wouldn't be that expensive, but it does need some care. You'd have to have it like put back to rights, but unless you just want to buy a new one, it's probably better just to do that. But I've got one if you want it, but I do have a new record out, so maybe I'll send it to you.
Where do I, send it me because just aesthetically, I love vinyl.
It is really pretty.
Or I could order it from you. Like, where would I order it? Where can people order your shit? You should be pimping that a little bit more on these shows.
Well, I have the Slaughterhouse Records info at the end of every podcast, which you've never seen or listened to, so you wouldn't know. Right. But it's Slaughterhouse Rex, REX, and a quick story about that is the reason I have to put that instead of records is because if you put Slaughterhouse Records in Google, mine will come up.
Label.
What's that?
Is it a hip hop label?
Yeah, Eminem has started his own label, but it's called Shady Records. But there's a band on his label called Slaughterhouse, which is comprised of people from famous rap bands. And that band is now like 20 years old or something, and they only did like one record, I think, or something like that. So as a result, I get people sending me rap demos all the time and asking me for autographs of rap bands on the label. And I'm like, do you look at the label that you're texting or messaging? Because if you look at it, I think you can tell it's nothing to do with rap. So, and I had girls from Florida send me demos of them rapping in the car, like filming it on their phone. I'm like, yeah, hey. And they're like, oh, hey, Marshall. I'm like, I'm not Marshall.
Marshall.
So I'm like, maybe I should actually, instead of getting pissed off, I should like call up Eminem and be like, hey, let's do this, man. You produce me, I'll produce you. We'll pimp each other out. And
Mm-hmm.
but anyways, it's Slaughterhouse Rex, REX dot storeenvy.com. And if you type that in just like that without the www, it'll go to the website. If you do the www thing, if for some reason it like gives you a blank page, I don't know what that's about. Or you can go to Bandcamp. You can listen to it on Bandcamp and buy hard copies.
I would pimp. You know what? I wouldn't even pimp the slaughterhouse dot nv dot da da da. I would just pimp the Bandcamp page.
Well, it's yeah, same. Well, they're both up there, but it's
to that.
Slaughterhouse Rex on Bandcamp too.
Oh, okay.
And that one
Yeah,
you can't
so
put www on it and it'll work.
yeah, Slaughterhouse Rex at Bandcamp. That's the one we should be.
And we're on Facebook, and of course, Medley Challenge is on Facebook and YouTube. Go like our page and tell everyone about the show and how much it makes you laugh and you love these two knuckleheads arguing with each other.
Oh, so we actually have a Facebook page now. Cool.
Yeah, I put some stuff up there once in a while. You could too, but you don't even listen to the shows.
I don't. Do I have admin privileges?
I
don't think I do. Yeah. So don't tell me I can add shit when I can't.
And you never will. So anyway, all right, man. Well, I'm going to put this Dodhiemsgard video. I'll send it to you either on or in your Facebook messaging or on your page. I think you're going to like it. We can talk about it next time.
Okay.
And until then, may Kip Winger beware, because Marc Hansen is now in Las Vegas. Yeah. City of Sin.
City of Sin. But yeah, I'll teach. We'll see about that though. I'm gonna take the sin out of Sin City. Yeah.
You're gonna make it worse.
We'll call it City.
Don't be from Salt Lake and go there and try and clean up Las Vegas. Get the fuck out of here. Las Vegas is gonna make you dirtier.
I can't possibly.
In ways you never expected.
Oh, we'll see. It could be exciting. But all right, I'll keep you up to date on that front. But until next time, let's shoot for again another Tuesday. But maybe when we're scheduled to go on like early on the day. And after you get off the phone, you take a good long hard look at the time zones. All right, learn them. Might come in handy sometime.
Yeah, you're a funny guy.
I bet you miss a lot of flights.
Well, I don't go to Las Vegas very often. I've only been there once. In fact, I went there and saw Kiss, believe it or not. It was at the end of Monday Nitro WCW Wrestling. Kiss performed live at the end of the show and played God of Thunder, although they lip-synced it, really.
Of course.
But I went there to see that, and I'd never been to Vegas before. And I went to the Star Trek Hilton. That was cool, and I saw Gene Simmons and various wrestlers out in the casino at MGM Grand.
There you go.
So yeah, it was kind of an experience. That was way back in the '90s, though.
Yeah, not much has changed. I'm just kidding. It's gotten way crazy, but
yeah, it has, because you're there now.
Yeah, I'm gonna
indeed
show this city some shit. All right, man.
Evil out of Marc, but Marc will put the evil back in wherever he is.
Yes, indeed.